Okay, so today we're going to talk about the assignment that I gave you on Tuesday, a couple of days ago. One of them was this math assignment, right? Predict and multiply. Predict whether the product is x, right, will be greater than, less than, or equal to the second factor. This is the first factor and this is the second factor. And then, so here's the prediction, and here is where you compute the actual answer. Okay? And it says, when possible, express your answer as a whole or mixed number. All right, so I'm going to bring you over here to the board, right? These are the same questions that you have in numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay? All right. Now, so let's look at number 1. It's 2/5 times 3/4 equals x, right? 2/5 times 3/4 equals x. Number 2, 6/6 times 3/4 equals x. All right, we see that the 3/4 fraction, this is the second factor, right? This is the first factor, this is the second factor. Here's the first factor, here's the second factor of the equation, right? And on number 3, here we see 3/4 once again, but this time it's being multiplied by 1 3/7, right? Okay. Now, let's look. So we know that the 3/4 fraction, the second factor here, is the same. 3/4, and 3/4 over there. Excuse me. Now, let's look at the first factor. Over here it's 2/5. Over here it's 6/6. Which is equal to 1, right? 6/6 is equal to 1. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. And this is 1 3/7. So we can see here that 2/5 is smaller than 1. It's less than 1, right? In fact, it's even less than 1/2 because 1/2 of 5 is 2.5. So it's less than half. Here, 6/6 is 1 whole. And here we have 1 whole, or 1 3/7. So it's more than 1, right? Here's where we predict what's going to happen. What's going to happen to 3/4 if we multiply it by a fraction less than 1, right? 2/5 is less than 1. I guess we could say that there's a good chance that if we multiply a fraction by another fraction less than 1, smaller than 1, that fraction will become less than 3/4, right? So the result, when you multiply these two factors, the result will be smaller than or less than 3/4, right? Remember when we were doing, so x will be less than 3/4. When we were doing exercises using like modeling, remember Farmer Daisy, right? And we were talking about like 1/3 of 1/4 or 1/3 of 3/4 of her land. We were taking a part of a part, right? Like of her whole land, 3/4, we divided into 3/4, and then she she watered 1/3, of the entire land. So 3/4 of 1/4 is like a small fraction of an even smaller fraction. Right? So it becomes smaller. When you have a fraction multiplied by another fraction, the answer will become, x will become smaller. Right? Now let's look at this one over here. Well, we all know that 6/6 is 1. Right? And any number, even a fraction, multiplied by 1 will be the same. Right? So x here, these are the two factors, and it equals x. We don't know what x is yet. You still have to solve that. But we do know that x will not change. It will still be 3/4, right? Because you're multiplying it by 1. Nothing changed. It's the identity property, right? Identity property. Now, since we have here in the beginning that if you multiply a fraction by a fraction, it becomes an even smaller fraction, right? Then if we multiply a fraction by a mixed number, meaning a whole number plus a fraction, so this is like 1.5, Sort of. Less than 1.5, because 3 over 7, 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So this is around 1.5. So it's greater than 1, right? So we can predict, just by looking at this, that 3/4 will be, the answer will be larger than 3/4 because it's adding 1, just like 6 over 6. You're multiplying it by 1, and you're adding the result of 3.7 times 3.4. It's getting bigger, right? So x then would be greater than 3/4, right? Because x is the result of these two factors, right? Now, I'm going to let you answer using multiplication. Remember, when you multiply fractions, it's just numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. So this would be, x would be equal to 6, 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 over 4 is 20. And when we simplify that, we divide it by 2, right? So that becomes 3 over 10, and that's our final answer. And we can tell 3 over 10 is, in fact, smaller than 3/4, because 3/4 is like almost 4/4. It's almost 1 whole. And 3/10 is a long way off from being 1 whole, or 10 over 10. All right. So this will be a primer, because this is for your quiz, which is gonna pretty much be the same as this. So hopefully with this, you can always rewind this YouTube video and then learn. I might even include some Khan Academy videos in case I didn't explain it good enough for you. Okay? All right, good luck.